say to me in Bowers Game Corner.
There, YouTube, I'm back again today for another How to Play video, and today I'm excited to teach you how to play the Great Dalmuti, the Dungeons & Dragons game. This is for 4 to 8 players, take about 15 minutes to play, and the first thing you're going to want to do is shuffle up this deck of cards, and then make sure everyone gets one card, and they can just randomly pick these from the deck. So we're going to set up a 5-player game right now. Now, what you're going to look for is who has the lowest number. Whoever has the lowest number is going to be the Great Dalmuti, and they're going to pick whichever chair at the table they would like to pick, and then the players that are next to them are going to be the players with the next highest number. So right now, this would be our first player. This would be the Great Dalmuti. This would be our second player because they have the next lowest number at 9. Right now, we have 2 people who are tied for the Exterminator, so they both flip over another card, and whoever had the lowest number would then finally get to be the next slot. So right there, we have the 9. And now that we've decided that tiebreaker, we can get rid of these cards, and this player will be our 4th player. And then this player, since they have the highest number, will be the 5th player. Now, the game says you can either use paper or tokens to represent the order at the table, or you can physically get up and you can switch seats at the table. However you want to do it, we're going to use these Post-it notes to help. Now, I want to fill you in on a couple names that you're going to hear throughout this. So you have the Greater Dreg, the Lesser Dreg, the Greater Dalmuti, and the Lesser Dalmuti. The Great Dalmuti and the Lesser Dalmuti will be the players that are 1 and 2. However, the Great Dreg and the Lesser Dregs will be whoever are the last 2 players at the table. So if you're playing an 8-player game, then the person who had the highest number out of the 8 people would be the Greater Dreg, and then whoever was second place in last would be the Lesser Dreg. So right now, this player would be the Lesser Dreg number 4, and this player would be the Greater Dreg number 5. Now, if you happen to be the Greater Dreg, you're actually going to take up all the cards, you're going to shuffle them out, and then you're going to deal them to the players around the table as evenly possible. However, you want to make sure that you're dealing in order because the people who are the Dalmutis might get more cards than everyone else. You can look at these cards, and actually you should be looking and organizing your cards before you even get all your cards dealt to you. With the cards dealt and organized, the next thing you're going to do is if you are the Dalmuti or if you are a Dreg, you're going to have to swap cards with your counterpart. What that means is if you're the Greater Dreg and you're the Greater Dalmuti, you're going to swap 2 cards. If you're the Lesser Dreg or the Lesser Dalmuti, you're going to swap 1 card with each other. Now, the Great Dreg is actually going to have to look through their hands and get their 2 best cards and hand them over. So right now, we would have to hand over this 3 and this 4 secretly to the Great Dalmuti, whereas the Great Dalmuti can give us any 2 cards that they would want to give us. They might just be like, oh, here you go. We'll give you this 11, 12. Wow. And now the Lesser Dreg would do the same thing, so their lowest card would be this 5. They'd secretly put it down here, and then the Lesser Dalmuti would give them whatever card they wanted to. All these exchanges should be happening at the same time. Now, there is one exception to this rule at the beginning of the game, which is if you have what's called a Monster Riot. And you'll know you have a Monster Riot if you happen to get dealt both of the number 13 Fool cards. So if you get dealt both these cards, you may call a Monster Riot. You don't have to. The Monster Riot means that we don't have to swap the cards at the beginning. So the 2 cards that 1 and 5 swapped and the 1 card that 2 and 4 swapped wouldn't have happened if someone had called a Monster Riot. Now, one additional rule with the Monster Riot is if that Greater Dreg, the worst player at the table, quote unquote, calls a Monster Riot, it's actually called a Greater Monster Riot, and all players exchange seats or rank markers with their opposite. So in this particular scenario, we would go 1 to 5 would swap, 2 to 4 would swap, and 3 would stay the same. But that's not what happened, so let's fix it. So starting with the first player, which will be the Greater Dalmuti, on your turn, you're always going to have 2 options. You can either play a set or you can pass. So for instance, if this player just wanted to pass, it would just immediately go to the number 2 player, and if they passed, it would go to the number 3 player, to the number 4 player, and to the number 5 player. But obviously, this is early in the game. We're not going to do that, so we're going to play a set of cards of the same number face up to the center of the table. A set can have any number of cards, but they all must have the same number in the top left-hand corner. So we'll take a look and we say, all right, we got 2 8s. Let's just do that and see how it goes. So we would play the 2 8s out to the center, and now it would move on to the next player, which once again would be the Lesser Dalmuti, who once again has the option to play or pass. Now, they can't play more than 2 cards down because the set has been established that it's only going to be 2 cards, but they could play something lower. So right now, despite the fact they have 5 3s, they might just play these 2 5s right there, which means right now they're winning this bid. And if this hand ended right now, they would get to lead off first next time. Which you want to do because that's how you're able to play your cards. And in order to win the game, you have to get rid of all of your cards. So they played the 2 5s to go to the next player, which is the 3 right here. And as we can see, their lowest number is a 4, and they only have 1 4, so they are going to be forced to pass. And so now it goes to the number 4 player. Same thing, not a great hand. They pass. Goes to the 5 player, and they don't have a very good hand either, which means they're going to pass. However, the hand is not over. It actually goes back to the 1 player who started everything off. They are allowed to jump back in, and this hand will not end until every player has passed in a row. So player 1 looks down at their hand, and wow, they still have 2 3s. They might play that right now, which means it goes back to player 2. Who we know, since we saw their hand, doesn't have anything lower, so now they would pass. They would now have the option to jump back in, and they would pass, 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 and then it would get to this player, who now has won this hand. All these cards are going to be collected by the Great Drag, and they're just going to be set off to the side. They're out of the game. Now, the only major rule we haven't talked about are the 2 Fool cards. Now, these cards by themselves can be used as just a regular 13. It is the worst card in the game. However, what they can do is they can act as a wild. So in that previous scenario, player 5 actually could have jumped in by combining their number 4 Baroness and number 13 Fool because it acts like a wild, and now that would be like having 2 4s. Or potentially later on in the game, if they wanted to get rid of a bunch of cards, they could do 4 11s. The main point is the Fool is wild. Now, eventually what's going to happen is a player is going to get rid of all their cards. As soon as you get rid of all your cards, you're going to win the hand, aka you're going to win the game. Now, there are variants that you can play, and I'll show you a picture of those variants right now, which will allow you to keep playing. And in that instance, whoever goes out first will be the Greater Dalmuti at the beginning of the next round. And then the next player to go out would be the Lesser Dalmuti. And if you want to play this way, after a player goes out, play continues clockwise as usual. And if it ever gets to a player who's already out, you just move on to the next player to the left. But that is the Great Dalmuti. If this helped you out, please consider giving this a thumbs up. Also consider clicking on that subscribe button as I teach new games all the time. But go have some fun, and thanks for your time, YouTube. This video is brought to you by all of my amazing Patreon supporters, and I would love it if you would join their ranks and have your name immortalized in the end of many of my videos for the end of time. But consider for only $1 a month, and as always, thanks for stopping by.